Good morning. I'm just going to take a moment while you can sit in a chair, you can lay down, you can do whatever. I just want to read you something that you've all heard before. And it's a quote that was not really the right quote. I'm going to read you the right one, the truer quote at the end, but this is still valuable. This kind of came out of a little bit of soul searching myself after Dean and I had a pretty lengthy conversation with our son Drew yesterday, who is in full on got to do something about the way the world has gone mode. And he was trying to motivate us to have more conversations and to say, the way Black people have been treated forever is atrocious, as well as Indigenous people. And the more conversations we have and the more we do something, and he's in the process of his doing right now is doing a lot of research. And he wanted to share that with us and say, you guys have to do stuff too. So it was good. It was challenging, and we came through it, and we all had a good night's sleep, believe it or not. But I want to read you this quote from that supposedly Gandhi said. He didn't actually say it, but it's a valuable quote, and it's be the change you want to see in the world. And this quote does three things. So the source where I got this from said he probably would actually fully agree with that statement, to be the change you want to see in the world. But this quote, this concept asks us of three things. One is to not judge others. And the second one asks us to replace complaining about things with self-reflection. And the third one asks us to become motivated to take action in the world, because we can't change anybody else. We can only change ourselves. So I think those are valuable things. So I'd love for today's practice to be starting from a place of compassion for yourself, for others, that hopefully leads to reflection and motivation to say, what can I do in my corner of the world, even though it doesn't seem like there's much, or we don't see what goes on. It doesn't seem to be going on like it is in other parts of the world. You know what? It is, and we have to have our eyes wide open. So let's practice, whatever one of those things or all of those things. I'd like it to be a bit more of a reflective practice today, to just go inside and see what you need to be able to get motivated to do something in your part of the world. So I'm going to invite you to lie down, and I'll ask you to support yourself with a blanket. We're going to do a heart opener to start. So you can take a blanket or two blankets, depending on the size you have, and either fold it in half or in three. And the reason you might go higher, you can see 3 is higher and narrower. If you have more of a curve in your lumbar spine, that might be a better choice. This would be less of a curve. I'm just going to have a little bit of an elevation, and you might want to have another pillow or blanket or something for your head. And I think, Richard, you've got lots of your other props there. So we're going to sit in front of that. And then if you need it even less than that, you can go lower down. I'm going to do the 3 because I've got more of a curve in my lumbar already in a natural stance. And then if you need something under your knees, if you have a bolster, you can put that under your knees. Then you come right up against the blanket, push the end down, and then roll yourself down. See if you can roll down, using your abdominals to control the movement down. And then the pillow, whatever you have for a pillow, it can be a pillow, and it can be a throw pillow from your couch. Then slide your pelvis away. This comes right up to your shoulders. If you have something going on with your shoulders, you can bring it underneath the shoulders a little bit, support them so that they're not just dropping. And then pelvis lifts and slide your tailbone away. And then depending on how you feel, you can straighten your legs out or keep them bent or put a bolster underneath. Then move your hands away from your body. if you can, slide them away and let your upper arms roll out, your forearms roll out, and your palms turn up. And then make any adjustments for whatever it is that you need for comfort, because this one is about comfort. And if you have to come off the blanket completely, that's okay too. If you're okay to close your eyes, close your eyes. There's value in closing your eyes, unless it is not valuable, unless it causes anxiety, because it asks us to move away from visual stimulation and begin to bring our vision towards our inner landscape. And then again, breath is a really great tool to tune into the breath. If it's not something that works for you, focus on another point in your body. Maybe it's the tip of your nose or the place between your eyebrows. And just for the next few breaths, just tune into how you're breathing. And maybe even visualize what's happening on the inside as the air comes in through your nose, moves down, lungs expand. And then as your body utilizes the air, the prana comes into the cells of the body, life force energy. Then the lungs come back to a resting size, and the breath comes up and out. I'm not even talking about what the diaphragm does, but just focus on just what you feel, how you feel your lungs moving. Give yourself some time to settle in. Notice if there is any tension anywhere in your body. I just spent a weekend hosting a yoga nidra training with the beautiful Elizabeth Huber here online. And we all were in agreement that if more people spend time with their eyes closed in stillness, observing their inner landscape, we could make a difference in the world. So notice how your breath might want to move here. And we'll just take a couple of moments to begin to shape the breath a little bit into a steady rhythm. Feeling how the body changes its shape as you create longer inhales and match the length of the inhales, or match the length of the exhales to the inhales. We'll just do 5 more like that, 5 more breaths like that. Steadily growing the breath, lengthening, letting both sides of the breath be equal, long and smooth and soft, without forcing. Your body knows how to breathe. You're just adjusting a little bit to bring in more prana, life force energy. And then if you've done more than 5 breaths, do a few more. My breaths are a little bit longer. And definitely longer than my resting breath. And then let go of the shaping and let it find its own rhythm. And know that your body has an ability to heal itself. And if each one of us turns to that ability, then that makes more people looking inward, and what they project outward changes, can change. We don't always want to see what we see inside, not just the body, but the mind, patterns and beliefs. So this is a good time now to decide on an intention. And you can make up your own, or you can let my words be your words. May I be open to seeing how my beliefs might affect my actions. May I find compassion in my heart for myself and for others. And can I find motivation to take action in a way that is not harmful, but offers peace to all beings everywhere? So it's going to be less about anatomy today and more about you feeling a sense of flow from the inside, from this inner landscape towards the outside, your outside physical body that does the action, and connecting the mind with that. So the mind is the one that decides, and the body follows. So now, keeping your breath just natural, you can bend your legs if they're not. If you have a bolster there, you can move it out of the way. And just very gradually start to drop your legs from side to side. We're going to keep the pelvis fairly level to start. Exploring the range, the flow you have of the thigh bones in the hip sockets. And then begin to allow that to become bigger, where the pelvis starts to shift. You shift over to one buttock and the opposite side starts to lift. The pelvis turns, the abdomen turns, maybe the ribs turn. Nothing forced. Tune in on this deeper sense of connection. And we'll know. We always know. But sometimes the voice of knowing only speaks in a whisper. It's hard to hear it. So allow your ribs maybe even to roll off the side of the blanket. Mine's narrow, so that happens fairly soon. This becomes a movement that has a ripple through the whole body. Maybe your head turns. I'm turning my head to the opposite way that my legs go to. And that's the idea. We want to have a ripple effect. There is a ripple effect happening right now. And it's a violent one. Maybe we can offer something else. I encourage everybody to look into the work of Marshall Rosenberg on nonviolent communication. He went into prisons and worked with people imprisoned to help them change the way they communicate. It actually did a lot of good. He's since passed away, but his work remains available. Let's just do one or two more here. I could probably do this for another half hour. And then come back into the center. We'll roll off the blanket on whichever side serves you. Easing your way up. Moving your blankets out of the way, except if you need to have one underneath your knees. And then set your hands up for table pose. You know, I've given you lots of instruction over the years for some of you. Find your way into this so that you have a sense of steadiness, support. You're not sinking. Tucking your toes under might be an option. It gives you a little bit more tone in the abdomen. Does that work for you? Is that what you need? And then just start to do a little bit of freestyle movement. Maybe it's wiggling your hips. Maybe it's rounding. Maybe it's sinking. Maybe it's a combination. Where is your body asking you to move it today? Did you do a lot of gardening this weekend? I just noticed on Facebook that someone is offering classes and she called it yoga for sore bodies. It made me think of everybody that is working so hard in their gardens. That to me would be a sore body, a gardening body. You just want to get it done. So stay with your breath. Try to keep it very close to the experience you're having so that every movement is tied to some part of the breath. And then we'll go back into a pose where we take our big toes together and knees wide, Adho Mukha Virasana. If you need more support under your ankles or under your knees, take that. But just start from table pose. Look forward just slightly in front of your fingertips and send your two sit bones back towards the back of the mat. So we keep long through the front of the body. It's hard to see with my flapper top on. But the front of the body stays long. We keep the hands where they are. And then pull with your hands, so you activate around the shoulder girdle and pull yourself back up again. And we'll go back again. Do this a couple of times. By couple, I mean a few. So just working with just this idea, this sense of deepening into the hip creases, deepening into the experience of the inner landscape without pain, with a sense of ease, lengthening through the sides of the body, lengthening through the front of the spine. Let's do one more. We're going to hold this time. Hold. Walk your left fingertips just a little further ahead while rooting your left hip back. So the left hip crease stays pulled back, but the left fingertips come forward. Maybe even bring your head down, or at least lengthen the back of the neck. And take a few breaths breathing into the left side of the body. This is not good for your knees. Put a blanket between your calves and your thighs, the back of the knee. Then bring your hand back and start to walk or slide your right fingertips forward. Right hip stays back. And direct your breath into the right side of your ribs. Staying in poses can offer time to tune into that inner landscape and be a little bit more reflective. We like to think we're all perfect because we choose the things that we think are the right choices. But there's always room for more knowledge about ourselves and our beliefs. We don't always want to hear it. Come back into the center. Pull yourself back up again. Turn your feet or turn your knees so that they're parallel again. Tuck your toes, and we'll push back this time into a child's pose in the center. And then bring your hands back by your feet. Forehead can come down. If you need a block, if the ground's too far, put a block or something there to give you support. We're not going to stay here because then we're going to lift up, taking the arms out to the sides. If it's too much on your toes, you can always turn your toes back down. And then inhale, come up into kneeling. So this is your other choice. Toes this way. You might need a support under the front of the ankle. Exhale, and we'll come back down. Hands back by your feet. Bow forward. Imagine this is a new idea emerging from your reflection and contemplation. And then you reach out and offer it into the world. Since nothing has changed in hundreds of years in the way we treat each other, I think we do need some new ideas. One more time. And then as you come down this time, bring your arms forward, bring your hands to the front of the mat again. Stretch out your right leg, tucking your toes under, and press back through your heel. Stretch out through your right calf, and then release it, draw it forward, and bring your knee in towards your chest. You can lower your head around your upper back, and then stretch back out. We'll keep the toes down so we can press out through the heel, and then come back in. One more time like that. Stretch out, press back, and come in. Bring your knee back beside your other knee, and let's do the other side. Stretch back, so you tuck your left toes under. Oh, that feels good. Feels tight on the left side for me today. Every time you come to your mat, you might learn, discover something new. Find which breath works best. Third time, and bring your knee back. So a couple of ways you can come up. You can walk your hands back. You can walk your feet forward. I'm going to walk my hands back, tip onto my heels, or bring my heels towards the floor, and then slowly push down and climb up my legs to come up and stand. I'm going to move my mat out of or my blanket out of the way, but you might need it there for lunges, and then come to the front of the mat. This is where you could put your chair in front as well for something to lean on. Have your blocks nearby. If you have blocks, maybe on either side of the mat or in front if you're using them for your forward fold. Then inhale. I'll wait till you get there. Oh yeah, there's people there. Stand at the front of the mat. Take your arms out to the sides, bending at your elbows, and lift up. This is my favorite way to do movement through the shoulder blades to start, because it's pretty accessible to everybody. So you can start to feel how your shoulder blades are doing the movement. Not your hands, not your elbows. The movement is coming from your arms or from the shoulder blades, and your arms are kind of mimicking what your shoulder blades are doing. They're doing this upward rotation. So I'm going to add one more thing here. As they come up this time, feel free from here to go straight up, keeping your arms parallel or maybe even going wider. We'll do two more like that. I think that was one of two. And then bring your hands down and bring them on, fingertips on your shoulders. And we'll just do circles this way. I like this. It gets shoulder blades moving again. Let's go the other way. Notice if one side's different than the other. And then we'll come back into the center. Drop your arms down. Inhale back up. Exhale, this time bring your hands to your thighs, bend your knees, bend your hips, bend your ankles, slide down. You can stay here. You can bring your hands to your blocks or to the floor. Then inhale, lengthen your spine, maybe lengthen up and lifting up through the backs of the legs just enough to feel a resistance, and then release back down. Press into your feet, rise all the way up again, combining those things we just did. Coming back down, sliding. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, come back up. Any combination. Last one. Inhale, lengthen the spine. That's your priority. The backs of the legs will come. Take a breath here. Spine being nice and long. And then bring your hands down by your feet or on your block or on your chair and slide or step your right foot back. Bring your right knee down. I'm going to walk my blocks back because that'll give me a little bit more height so that I can stay long through my spine. And we'll move back and forth between these movements. It's not essential that you straighten your front leg. This is movement to explore movement, not to get to somewhere as a destination. Think of it as brainstorming for your body. Can I move this way? Can I move this way? Can I move this way and this way at the same time? New ideas come from brainstorming where there are no idea is a bad idea. Simply an exploration. One more time. Come forward. Pause here. You can use your blocks or you can use your chair to lift your back knee off the floor. Press back through your back heel and forward through your front knee. If you feel stable, see what it feels like to take your hands off and maybe reach your fingers towards the back of the mat. Rolling your shoulders back. If you don't feel stable, stay where your hands are helping you. Notice what it feels like to hold something that might be challenging. To stay in the uncomfortable area. Not pain, but wow, this is difficult. That's where we are right now in the world. And then release and come back down. Move the blocks to the sides, hands to the floor or hands to your chair for a downward dog. So you can definitely do a chair downward dog. That might be a better option for you, Richard. Hands on the chair, feet walk back. You can go wide with your feet, bend your knees, shift your hips back. So spine is the priority here. Lengthening the spine, not necessarily getting the heels down. Remember how we deepen the hip creases in Adho Mukha Virasana. We're deepening the hip creases as much as we can, then seeing, can I keep that depth and then move my legs towards straight. Towards is a direction. So can I keep what I know to be true in my heart and project what I need to out into the world? 2 breaths more here. Then walk your feet forward to the front of the mat. Take your blocks with you. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale. Keep your spine long, but fold your body in towards your legs. Legs can bend more, feet can be wider. Then press down into both feet, sit back, drop your sit bones down and rise up. Exhale, come on back down. We have a second side to do. Inhale, lengthen the spine. A little bit of lengthening through the legs. Exhale, hands come down to the floor. This time slide or step your left foot back. Knee down. So I've got my leg on more of a diagonal line. As much as you can open this, get to where you can with an ease about it. Then we go back and forth, exploring, discovering. Lubricating joints, bringing blood flow to muscles. It's so easy to move in a pattern that we always move in. But if we always do what we always did, we always get what we always got. Again, that's what's happening in the world. So let's take one more. Come into the lunge. Same idea here. If you feel solid enough here to lift your back knee off the floor, lift your back knee off the floor. What do you need to do to feel more connected, more grounded here, more stable? You know, maybe it's hands to your thigh. Maybe it's a little bit more tone in your abdomen. Maybe it's dropping your right sit bone down towards the floor and towards the center. And if you feel stable, hands can come off, and instead of your arms going back, take them forward. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like this. Do whatever works for you right now, but be aware it's not comfortable, but it's not painful. Are you able to stay grounded and centered within yourself, still reflecting on the inner landscape while the outer landscape is working so hard? And then exhale, bring your hands back down, knee back down, blocks to the side. Yes, another downward dog. So I'll show you chair downward dog. Especially if you know you've got anything going on in your shoulders. It would be here. Feet are wider. So we get the priority of lengthening through the spine. Broadening through the collarbones. 2 more breaths here. And wherever you happen to be, bring your feet a little bit closer together towards the center of the mat. Lift your right leg up. Drop your left heel back and down towards the back. Does not have to land, but until you feel that sensation of resistance in the back of the calf. Then bend your right knee. Lift yourself up by pulling forward slightly. So you lift up through the upper back and then swing your right leg forward. When I do that, my foot gets here, so I'm going to take my ankle and move it the rest of the way. Bring your blocks back in or bring your chair in. So if you're on chair downward dog, your chair is already there. You're here, you lifted, you stepped. Okay, we're going to come up, similar to what we just did. Did right foot, right? Climb up onto your front thigh. This time, come up a little bit higher and explore what's happening in your pelvis. So the pelvis may tip forward a lot. Try to bring a little bit more of a neutral alignment where there's a lift from the pubic bones up to the belly button, a lengthening through the front of the belly. Then inhale, arms out to the sides and up. This is a high lunge. Let's play a little bit with keeping the upper body where it is, but rotate your from below your ribs. So rotate your pelvis towards the side and turn your back leg down. And then turn it back up. I need a little bit of a less length between my legs here. Notice if your upper body wants to turn with it. So resist letting your upper body turn. Let the lower body turn one more time. And then we'll hold in Warrior One. So there might be a conflict within yourself. There definitely was as we were talking to our son yesterday. Because everybody thinks, well, I believe that I'm doing all the right things. There's more that can be done for sure. One more breath here in warrior one. Then turn on your back heel. Bring your hands back down to the floor. Step back into your downward dog. If you're doing a chair dog, hands stay on the chair, you step back. Take a breath or two in downward dog and notice how you feel here. Notice one side versus the other side. Then bring your feet a little bit closer together. Lift your left leg up. Bend at your knee. Stretch the sole of your right foot back and down. Does not have to land. And then bring your left knee forward. Push up into your upper back from your hands and then step. Bring your left foot towards the front of the mat. You can either use your blocks or your chair or your hands to come up into the high lunge this time. Check, maybe you need to adjust where your feet are. Look that your body is facing forward and bring your arms up. Okay, find stability here. Chest and head face forward. Turn the lower half of your body. So your pelvis turns. Think of your right hip turning away from your left hip. Right thigh turns out, foot comes down, and then back. What's the minimum amount your foot has to turn at the end of the movement to still allow you to face forward through your shoulders? So resist. Resist just going with the flow. You know, as in the first quote that supposedly Gandhi said that he didn't. Be the change you want to be and see in the world. You don't have to go with the flow. Okay, one more time and we'll hold warrior one. Yeah, make adjustments however you need to. Nice. Notice your breath. Notice what can you settle into something that was difficult or challenging at once. And then turn on your back foot. Bring your hands back down to your chair, to your blocks, or to the floor. We'll come back into downward dog briefly. A couple of breaths in downward dog. If you're using your chair, you're here. And I'm going to invite everybody else to come into child's pose. And if you're using the chair, you're going to come sit on the chair and come forward. So seated chair child's pose. In all cases, this is a pose now to get out of that chaotic, that outside, the outer body being so active, and a chance again to turn inward and check in, be reflective, be contemplative. We have more poses to do. You know, this is what this time is asking of us, is to check in, turn out, check in, turn out, check in, and offer out what you have, what you can. And it might not be easy to do either. We all have things in shadow. And think of the things that have been in shadow in your lifetime in the past, and you have done work, or something has happened where you have discovered, that's something new I learned about myself. I'm going to make a change about that. And you've done that. We've all done that. That's how we've grown to who we are right now. Everything we've done in our lives leads up to this moment. Everything contributes to who you are right now and what you have to offer. Okay, let's come back up, downward dog. It's a bit of a downward dog heavy practice. Well, that's okay. We don't do it a lot of the time, so let's see what it offers us. Bring your feet a little bit closer together again. Lift your right leg up. This time, bend your knee and turn your right hip open. Your right hip turns away from your left leg. Losing my shirt. Then re-stretch your leg out, opening up through the front of the right hip. Then level out your hips. Use a little momentum and swing your right foot forward. So we'll find a little bit more momentum. Maybe it gets further ahead, and then you can step to the front. Bring your blocks or your chair back in. Turn your left hip away from your right hip, still facing forward. Your hip turns. The left hip turns open, the left leg turns open, and then land your outer foot down so your back foot's more parallel. Come on up. What's going to want to happen is this knee is going to probably want to go in. So if you keep your pelvis turning just the right amount, you can keep your knee facing forward. Similar to what we did at the front, we want to turn the upper body away from the front knee. Bring your arms up. Turn your head over to the right, looking over your right hand. And then just for comparison, turn it all the way over to the other side and look at your left hand. Is your left hand in line with your right hand? Adjust it if it's not. And then come back again. Lean forward, bringing your elbow to your thigh. Take your top arm, lift it up. This is what we did before. Any variation here. So we got side angle pose. See how the breath will flow differently through the body in this new shape. Then press down and away with both feet. This is the challenging part. Can you come up with steadiness? Legs are where they are, body just changes. Bring your back hand down to the back thigh. Roll from your right shoulder, turn your upper arm up, turn your forearm up, turn your palm up, and lift up as you deepen into the front knee, keeping it right over your ankle. You know, not that that's the only way to do it. That's the one I'm asking you to try this time. Open up here without compressing here. Yeah, nicely done. Okay, so inhale now, reach forward. You can either come elbow to your thigh again or bring your hand to your block, which makes the pose go a little bit further, deeper. Is it where you're ready to go? You know, the whole thing about being able to offer something out into the world is you have to meet yourself where you're at. Not to say that you can't be uncomfortable, but you can take the steps you need to take to move yourself to a place where you can offer something. Then slowly turn back down, hands to the floor, hands to your chair, hands to the blocks, turn on your back knee, bring your back knee down. Before we leave this, we're gonna go into a rotation. So cushion your knee if you need to, come up, bring your right hand and slide it along your right thigh so your thumb is on the inside and your fingers point down the outside. Then lift your left arm up. Exhale, lean forward, keeping the front of the body long, and start to rotate the rib cage, the same as what we've done so far in all the standing poses. Rib cage turns more so than the head leading. Then your palms come together. Turn your fingertips forward. This way. Stack your elbows, then push down to create a little more space. Lift your chest up. Turn a little bit more, taking your right shoulder blade back. If this is where you feel steady, stay here, but you always have an option. You go, can I do more? Is there something else I can do right now? Maybe the back knee comes off. Maybe it comes off for a moment and you go, I'm not quite ready for that action yet. And then slowly unwind. Bring your hands back down. Step back. Yes, it's downward dog time again. Every time you come into downward dog is an opportunity, because it's like a forward bend. You're turning inward, you're looking away from the outside world. You can use it as an opportunity to check in with yourself. Child's pose is always an option too. Bring your feet a little bit closer together. Lift your left leg up. Bend your knee. Lift your left knee up. Start to open up so your left knee goes out towards the left. And at first, that's an action of the thigh bone, similar to what we did at the beginning. Then you turn the hips so that the left hip moves away from the right leg. Then you can re-straighten your leg wherever it happens to be. Then, with a little momentum, swing your leg forward and step it where it needs to go without distorting the spine. You know, we can't compromise anything about ourselves. Hands to blocks, hands to thigh. Come on up. Lift your body up. Let's start to turn the back leg now. So we're facing forward. Oh no, we're not facing forward. Never mind, slash that. So turn your whole body towards the side, letting your hips be a little bit more towards the top corner. I forgot where I was going. Back outer heel, back outer foot is a little more parallel with the back of the mat. I'm not going to say it's parallel. It depends on your body. Pelvis is going to be turned a little bit more this way to allow for your knee to face exactly forward. That's going to give yourself stability. Yeah. Then slide on out. Oh yeah, we did Warrior 4. Dean. So good to have him in the studio audience. Sit down into your left sit bone. Look forward, so we rotate the head. Proud to be who you are and offer your uniqueness to the world. And then turn your head the same plane and look back at your back head. And adjust your arms so that they're in the same plane. Then turn your head back to the front. Now slide forward. Is that right, Dean? He's my assistant today. Top arm. Press down into your forearm and lift and lengthen through the whole left side of the body.
Reverse.
There's no compromise.
Reverse.
Pardon?
Remember?
Ah.
It's okay.
We'll come back. We'll come up to it. Thanks. Thanks, Jacqueline. Or Tris. It was Chris. Inhale, lift up. Reverse warrior. Yeah, this is where we did it before. Yeah. Boom, because then we went into the deeper. Okay, so front knee stays where it is. Dean says the studio audience is always right. I don't know about that. Maybe when he's the studio audience. Exhale, come forward, and if you are interested in seeing, you can either take your elbow here or come to your block and see what that is. It's not that it's a goal to go towards, it's just another option. It's another depth of offering. Couple more breaths here. Notice what feels good, what feels not so good, and what is that sensation? And then turn, bring your hands down. We'll go into downward dog for a couple of breaths. It's 10:20 already. And then come into any version of child's pose that serves you. And if knees are an issue, I'm going to highly recommend you sitting on a chair and coming this way. Child's pose is in this case for an opening through the back body, for breath to move into the back ribs. But even more importantly than that, it's for a rest for the nervous system and an ability to turn inward and check in. I feel like if more people checked in with themselves before they did something, especially something violent, They might not do it. Compassion. So if you're using this time right now to wait for me to tell you what to do next, come back to a sense of breath. You know, reflection can be challenging if you're not used to it. So if you turn to the breath, it gives you a pathway in to the inner landscape. And start there. Start with noticing. Noticing what's in your mind. Notice what's in your heart, what emotions you might be feeling. Then slowly make your way over onto your back. Oh, did we do the rotation on the second side?
No, we
Studio
didn't.
audience. Okay, a point for Dean and a point for Chris. Not that we're keeping score. But let's, instead of going back to it, we'll do a rotation on the floor. He said, damn. Is that allowed in yoga? Come back onto your back. Have your strap. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to this. Actually, don't put it across you. We'll come back to it. So we did a rotation, body to the right, legs to the left. So let's do the opposite. So bring both legs in towards your body for a moment. A little massage through the back of the body. Body turned right. And then release your right leg down. Hold on to your left leg. Draw your left leg across the body. And at first, let's just keep the shoulders on the floor, shoulder blades on the floor. So you get the stretch through the outer hip, but not at the cost of feeling compressed or pinched through the inner side of the hip joint. Just where you feel a resistance. And one of the things, instead of just pulling your knee down, as your hand pulls down, you can press your leg up into your hand. You can open up the space along the inner side. Then you can continue and allow your hips to go further. And feel free to do any variation. You know, you can have your knee on a block. There's only cause and effect, not right and wrong. So if you want to keep your shoulder blades down, notice where you're feeling whatever it is you're feeling. If we want to actually put the rotation in the rib cage, in the thoracic spine, then the knee comes down to the floor. Then the left shoulder blade goes back towards the floor. I like to have my left hand under my head. But find a way that works for you. We're going to hold this side just a little bit longer since we missed it in the standing pose. If you want to take your hand out from behind your head, keep it in line with your shoulder. So it might be a bent elbow. The minute your arm drops back behind you, you are now losing out on the stretch through the chest. So if we turn it and open it and keep it lifted, then we get the stretch through the top of the chest. It all depends on what you want. What do you want the pose to give you? We'll take 3 even breaths. So shape the breath just a little bit here. Shape it in a way that there is an ease to it. And then when you're ready to come back, if you're doing this version, You'll roll to your side first, realign the spine, and then come back more in a unit. Then in between sides, we'll take the strap, put it around, actually put it on the left since we did the hip opening there. The left foot, I'm going to say ball of the foot today. I've just tied a little loop in here, and I'm going to bring my left hand and hook it in there, wherever it needs to be. So if I was a little bit tighter, I might go here. So straight arm. And then you can see the strap is pulling my foot towards me. I want to do the opposite action. The strap is holding, but I want to push into the resistance of the strap. I don't have to straighten my leg to do that. It comes from the foot. So just take about 3 or 4 breaths here. Your right leg can go out. Play a little bit with your ability to tip the pelvis forward and back. Try to find the most neutral place. Maybe you want more of a low back stretch, so maybe the leg comes closer to you. Then take your right hand now into the loop and start to take your left leg across your body. Now, I'm not doing this and lifting the hip up. I'm trying to just focus a little bit more on lengthening out through the outer leg, particularly right through here, through my outer hip, the abductors. So I'm still anchoring. I'm using the strap to help anchor from my foot down to my hip. Keep pressing out through the ball of the foot. If you want to turn this into a rotation, similar to what we just did, you can do that. One or two more breaths here. Take your time. If you want longer, stay longer. And take the strap off when you're ready, though. Lower your leg down. Have your strap ready for the other side. We'll do another rotation. So bring your right leg in. A shorter rotation. Hand to the outside of the knee and pull it across. Take whatever variation is calling to you. It might even be a different one than you did on the first side. I like the leg down because it stabilizes my pelvis. It puts me into neutral alignment through the spine. I have all the curves of my spine, and I'm simply rotating around the thoracic spine. So the lumbar doesn't get that rotation. I want you to go where it feels good. There's a sense of balance in what you're doing. Last week in one of the practices focused on not forcing, just allowing the body to find its way to where it needs to be rather than what the mind wants it to be. You know, the mind is a pretty powerful tool. It can be used for good and evil. It doesn't always have to be followed. Remember the voice of the heart, that's a whisper. If we listen and we can hear that voice, then the mind can take that idea and run with it. That to me is a good combo. Okay, just another breath. Come out in whatever way serves you. Center yourself, bring your strap now around the right ball of the foot. Find the distance that you need the loop to be so you can hook your hand and hang. Now, for some, it might be this. Instead of just pulling my foot towards me, I'm going to push my foot away, opening up through the front of the ankle, shortening through the back of the ankle. And then I can push. Not in a forcing kind of way. I want to feel that balance of drawing in and reaching out. My right arm straight, I'm hanging from the strap. It's a counterbalance. Maybe left leg is out, maybe not. And if you take your left leg out, is it active? Does it want to just go to sleep? Does it make a difference when you activate it? Notice the breath. You can even close your eyes here. This is half of a forward bend. Change hands. You have to bring your leg across the body. Doesn't have to be very much. Sometimes a small, subtle action is better than a huge one. With emotions running so high, it's easy to get caught up in being big and demonstrative. It's an outlet for emotion, for anger. If you want to turn, you can. You can bend your knee. One or two more breaths. If you need longer, take longer. And then come back and take the strap off and lower your leg down. Now your legs roll away from each other. Little Shavasana before Shavasana, just to see, do I need anything else? In Shavasana, do I feel ready to go into Shavasana and quiet the outer body and move into the inner body completely? Not just the inner body, but the inner experience. The place where the whisper arises from. So either take yourself into a pose that serves you, other than Shavasana, or go into Shavasana. And once you've settled, make any adjustments. And turn back to your breath if that's ideal for you. You know, this is not a time to be thinking. This is a time to be resting in complete awareness of your experience. So if your mind turns to thinking, acknowledge that. It's part of what the mind, well, it is what the mind loves to do. But resting in the experience, what does that even mean? If that seems like an elusive concept, I would say practice it more often until it's not elusive. Hear the sound of my voice. And feel your body in this experience. Feel your breath. Notice your mind. Where did you go in these last 5 minutes? No, this is all about practice, 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 and more practice. It's not always the easiest thing, and it's not always one that people are willing to try, but I do think it makes a difference. You can move and come to sit if that's the option you're choosing today, or you can lie right where you are. Wherever you happen to be, bring your awareness to the center of your chest, your heart center. I want to read you Mahatma Gandhi's real quote. We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. This is a pretty profound spiritual truth. I will send that in the email so you get a copy of it. So consider the family of George Floyd and his unfortunate death. And remember that white privilege is real. And so is Black and Indigenous oppression. What can we do to narrow the gap and come to a place where we can see everybody as one? Thank you. Namaste.